Coming up on The Weekend View.
How pop star Chappell Roan's comments about parenthood sparked the mother of all backlashes.
Jack Black and Gillian Anderson share some surprising takes on handling anxiety and imposter syndrome.
The new dating app that takes a page from the reality show Love is Blind.
And could your man resist being tempted by the loyalty testers? Manny, don't even think about it.
It all starts now on The Weekend View!
Hello and welcome to The Weekend View. Now, pop star Chappell Roan just appeared on the Call Her Daddy podcast and shared her view on parenthood. Watch.
All of my friends who have kids are in hell. I actually don't know anyone who's like happy and has children at this age. I have like a 1-year-old, like 3-year-old, 4 and under, 5 and under. I literally have not met anyone who's happy, anyone who has like light in their eyes, anyone who has slept.
Whoa, so her comments drew some strong reactions on TikTok. Watch this.
It's so frustrating because I know that's what a lot of the younger generation is listening to, and it's so far from the truth. You are misunderstanding hard work and hard days for help.
Ask any mother, the reason that they wake up every single day joyful is because of their children. Imagine saying there's no mothers that are happy when the world is still spinning and women are still choosing to have babies every single day.
Fortunately, I related to exactly what Chappell said. Like, I see so many women who are like, this is miserable.
It's also really hard to not be a parent and have that pushed on you all day, every day, especially as a woman in an industry like music.
So what do you think of her take? She really thinks it's hell to have children, particularly at her age, 27. It's young, actually.
Well, Farah has little ones.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, it would be like, I think she is understanding the transparency that parenting is hard, but it's like telling someone about your breakup and then saying, I'm never dating again. There's good parts to it, and there's amazing, I've never felt more purpose than I do.
But how old were you when you had your first kid?
Oh, mama, I was 38.
Yeah. That's why. I mean, you're ready at 38.
Well, I don't know if ready is the right word ever, because I would say what parenting becomes is you're never ready for what it looks like.
You
just throw yourself in.
But just when you get to a point where you can handle it, your eggs powder up.
Well, I was going to say,
that's the problem.
I'm kind of with Sarah because I had my first at 34 and my second at 38. And so I was an older mom. And, you know, the days are really long. Yeah. But I will tell you, in retrospect, the years are quick. Yeah. And that time period, I look back on it so fondly. I miss the ages of like 5 and 8. I miss almost every single
Well, pretty soon you'll be a grandmother and then you'll get it back again.
I'll get it back again. Exactly. But I love being a mom. I love it.
I honestly felt exactly like Chappell Roan at her age. I think she's 27. In my mid-20s, I wouldn't have said it as publicly, but I was like, ooh, how are they doing that? That looks miserable. They look so like stressed out all the time. Yeah. But it's different for everyone. My best friend in college had kids at 22, married her college sweetheart, has 4 now, and they are happy and thrilled, and it was meant for her. I'm going to be an older mom, and I cannot wait to be. So it's just like, for people, it may be the timing, it may not look right to them, but every friend, I don't have a single person I know who's a mom is like, I regret that. I wish I hadn't been a mom.
I've never met anyone like that.
You know, to me, it said to me that her friends are actually very honest with her and talk about the stresses and the strains of being a mom, of motherhood. You know, sometimes you talk to people who make everything sound perfect, and I think her friends are telling her that. In my age group, most of my friends right now are stressed as hell trying to get their kids into college. And you know, and they're talking about it, and they can't sleep, and they can't do this. So yeah, there's stress when they're 2 and there's stress when they're 20.
And the stress never goes away, by the way.
Yeah. But I also think when we talk about the milestones of what we expect, it's also why it's so important not to constantly ask, more specifically women, because that happens more often, when are you having kids? Are you having kids? Yeah. Because I have a friend that admitted to me she would never give back the 2 kids she had. She loves them dearly. But now that she knows what parenting looks like, she doesn't know if she was cut out for it. And I really respected her honesty. Yeah. She would never give back the faces and the souls she knows. But I now, parenting, realize it's not something that should be pushed on everyone. It is some friggin' hard work. And if you are not really die hard, you want it more than anything in the world, maybe you'd have a better life, like
to
if
be
you
a good
didn't.
parent, you no longer come first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Someone else always comes before you.
Yeah.
To be, in my opinion, to be good at it. I mean, Joy, though, you had a baby at 21.
28.
28.
Let's try not to judge each other as
Yeah.
women, right? If some women want to have kids early, go right ahead. If some want to have them late, great. If they want to not have kids, great. To each their own. Everybody knows what their priorities is, what their life balance is.
The problem is you don't know, because when you're young, you say, no, I don't want them yet, I don't want them. But now you can freeze your eggs, so that helps.
Freeze them now.
Yeah, if you have access to
But that doesn't answer every
No, that's
question.
not
I've had
cheap.
people
Freezing
that,
eggs is
one,
not
it's
cheap.
expensive, but also those eggs don't always, like the fertility issues we're seeing right now
It's
are
true.
really
And God knows
cumbersome.
the price of eggs right now, right through. Okay, next topic. In a new interview with Variety, Jack Black admitted that hosting SNL for the first time in 20 years this weekend gave him so much anxiety, he had night terrors. Yeah. And Gillian Anderson, who I love, told Marie Claire UK that she had imposter syndrome when she first took on the role of Eleanor Roosevelt in the series The First Lady, because she didn't think she could pull it off. So, you know, I don't know if this is relatable to everybody who's not an actor, but there is a certain amount of stage fright, probably when you have to speak at the PTA. You know, it's the #1 stress in the book of lists. The fear of public speaking.
Yeah.
Number 6 is the fear of dying, so people are more afraid of speaking in public than dying.
I'm more curious, what are the other 4 or 5 things in between?
I don't know, we'll have to look them up.
I can really relate to this because when I was a prosecutor, I got assigned cases before the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, which is actually the circuit that many of those judges go to the Supreme Court, and they're all really much smarter than you are, and then you have to appear in front of them and make arguments, and they seem to know so much more than you do. So maybe this is TMI, but every single time I had an appellate argument, it was coming out both ends, man. I was really sick. I was really
right. It is TMI.
It's TMI. But I was sick.
Highly relatable, Sunny.
Every single argument, I was sick. And when I started auditioning for the show in 2012, Bill Getty, who was the former executive producer, he said to me, "Come here," during the break. And I said, "I think maybe you were there." And he said,
"She's been here a long time."
Are you watching the show or are you in the show?" Because I was like ping pong for me. I was so nervous. I was like, they're really good at this job.
How about they were about
It
to
was bad.
announce the comedy of Joy Behar at some club, and I was in the toilet.
You were,
You
right?
said you used to
And
get
I
sick
hear them
whenever-
saying, Joy
See?
Behar, and I'm like, no, I have to. And I mean, it was a nightmare.
It's not.
Well, because
nerve-wracking.
your body responds to that kind of stress. As you said.
Mine
This is
responded.
why I have so much respect for Cory Booker.
I don't get that ailment. I just lose the ability to formulate words. Like, I used to be terrified of public speaking. TV would have been the most like terrifying thing. But we had Barbara Corcoran on our show, and she made from Shark Tank, and she made a great point. She said she's battled imposter syndrome her whole life, but she used it as a motivator to make herself, to prove to herself she was good enough and deserved to be there. And it actually made her as excellent as she is. So I try to remind myself that. I'm like, you're only competing against yourself. Like,
Only
just
yourself.
do better.
Yeah.
Can I tell you, I'd never even heard the term imposter syndrome until I was on the show. And I honestly, it's not something that I let go into my head at all. And I think part of it is because when you are a Latino or when you are Black and you are on TV or you're in a corporate boardroom, you're wherever, there's all these people who automatically assume that you're there because you're an imposter or you're a token. And so I'm not going to do it to myself. The hell with them.
I don't know that that's true.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
You don't know it's true because
I think that to me, imposter syndrome is more like, wait till they find out that I'm incompetent.
I felt that.
That's what they mean.
Well, that's my point. There's people who think you're incompetent and you're only there because you're a Latina, or you're only there because you're Black and you're filling out a.
I felt like
checking
when
all
I
that
became
box.
a mom.
Disgraceful.
But to be clear, when you are brown or Black, when you get into those rooms, you're twice as qualified as most people because it's so hard for you to get there because of the structural racism that's going on.
Right.
So I never suffered from imposter syndrome
true
because I
for
knew how
women.
hard I had to work.
I don't even
It's
think
true
that
of
exists
women
in
also.
Spanish,
Look at the
imposter
case
syndrome.
of Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Who was more qualified
No
than
one
she
was more
was.
qualified.
She really knew her stuff.
But I do think the anxiety part of it, the Jack Black
I had the
mentioned,
anxiety
that
thing.
that is a medical, physiological thing that with therapy, with training that you do, you can overcome.
I needed a lot of therapy
something-
at that time.
Yeah, but I read a phrase the other day that said, "There's always going to be someone who believes you're not good enough. Don't let it be you." And that really landed for me.
If it's your mother. That's a drag.
I have a friend who says, that she says, it's funny because I've noticed that when men get called and offered jobs that they may not have the experience for, they don't question it. They're like, yes. And so she says she's gotten calls for big jobs that she didn't know if she was qualified for. And she says to herself, put on your white man pants and take the job.
Yeah. We'll be right back.
The Weekend View is sponsored by Rock Skincare, clinically proven.
Are you suspicious that your man may be a cheater?
No.
No. Well, if you are, you can hire loyalty testers who will flirt with them and see if he gives into temptation. Are these loyalty testers doing a public service, do you think?
If you think you need a loyalty tester, then you already got problems.
Yeah.
Because you have trust issues in your relationship. So, I don't know that if they're doing a public service or it's a form of therapy. I don't like it. I mean, that's the bottom line. I don't like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Forced trust
So
is not
you'd rather
trust.
just stay in the dark?
Oh, absolutely. You carry your sin with you to your grave.
But also, I think you know. Like, if you
burden
know if
me.
you have trust in your relationship, and when people try to force it by, like, looking through people's phones,
Yes.
or in this case, sending someone to flirt, trust is already broken. There's a reason you're
Yeah,
feeling
but
that way.
they always say the wife is the last to know. It's a cliche.
But don't you
in a
wanna be the
certain way,
last
it's
to know?
true.
You
In
don't
a
wanna
certain
know.
way,
But
it's
I
true.
do want to know, what do these loyalty testers get paid? I'm married, but if
I
I
don't
was
know.
single, that
Why?
sounds...
You're looking for a
No,
side
I'm
hustle?
saying that sounds better than, like, Uber Eats or OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Like, just sliding into someone's DMs.
I'm a side hustler.
Anna?
I don't face what ain't broken. I mean, just this testing thing. Look, looking at somebody's phone, that to me is at a different level than hiring a person to, I guess, entice your husband and to go tempt your husband.
Oh, there's like a scale.
Oh no, I'm not hiring any one of those.
Full FBI! Full FBI!
Sonny could do that.
I could. $149.
$149? I'd rather buy a pair of shoes.
Well,
That's amazing.
it's really it's kind of like a private detective, sort of.
Yeah, you go FBI
It's a
on
private detective with big boobs.
Yeah.
My husband would show it to me and be like, I'm pretty sure this is a bot, just heads up.
No,
This
but
girl
I
is not
know of
actually
someone. I
flirting with me.
legit know of
Yeah.
someone. Yes, heard a story of a man that was getting married and had been a philanderer, and his eventual wife and then eventual ex-wife hired an actor to come and do that, and he didn't take the bait. But then he took other bait.
He took other bait.
There'll always be other bait.
I could use that for my play. I have a show called My First Ex-Husband.
Yeah,
and all of the stories are based on women who are divorced and they tell their story and then we make them into monologues.
You could use that loyalty tester story.
Yeah, I need one of those stories.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Yeah.
Who could be catfish?
All right, next story. So there's a new dating app called Tribal. It's very similar to the reality show Love is Blind. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Okay. The app won't reveal the photos of the person you're being matched with until they make a connection for 72 hours via chatting or voice memos. They claim it'll form a deeper emotional and intellectual relationship.
Oh.
Do you agree that this is a good idea? You
No.
can't see the person, so you can't base it. He's not cute enough, he's too fat, whatever.
The only problem with basing it on physical attraction is if that's all you have. But you need a little attraction to someone. Like,
You
that's
need
part of it.
chemistry.
Yeah.
But you're talking to him.
I
Like,
totally
imagine-
thought Sarah Haynes would be for this. I don't know why. I just thought you would.
But imagine
Oh,
if
I
the
love
guy.
that. I just tricked
imagine
you.
if you're 72 hours and you're like talking to Barry White.
Yeah.
Because baby,
then-
I really
And then
love you,
Pee Wee
baby.
Herman shows up.
I mean, why do I need to see what he
No,
looks
but
like?
haven't you seen this
No.
when you work remotely or you have people in other offices in other cities and for years you think they look a certain way, not for attraction,
Yeah.
but then they show up and you're like, damn, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
Like, it really
good.
rocks you.
Well, it could be the
Well,
opposite.
so many of the apps though, because I had a friend who was on an app, and his picture was like 30 years old.
Yes.
And so when you were going to show up anyways, you were going to see
No, but
something
that's
that was
why as
completely different.
someone who I dated my husband online and then we got married,
know
one of
what?
the best pieces of advice I got was put pictures up that are not your glow up
Yes.
on New Year's Eve. Do what he's going to see when he sees you on a date, your regular
100%,
day. And that's what I did.
But I kind of like this idea, though, because, I mean, it's 72 hours, so it's 3 days. So you're not that invested.
You
so that
can't
if
get
you,
that time back,
I know, but if
Anna.
after 3 days it's Quasimodo, you know, you're not that invested. You can get out.
But a person you like talking to and connect with but aren't attracted to is called a friend. This is basically an app
Thank
to
you.
just make a
Yeah,
friend.
because I was going to say, I have a lot of those.
No, not if they do the Barry White
But
thing.
then look, like, we heard it.
Oh, we'll be right back.
The Weekend View is sponsored by Rock Skincare, clinically proven.
So Alyssa was on the Behind the Table podcast with Brian this week, so check it out.
Let's talk about Bravo. Craig and Paige continue to be the biggest story. They broke up at the end of last year, but their shows are airing now. So we're seeing the breakdown of their relationship in real time. Last week, we saw that Paige was annoyed that Craig didn't seem to be supporting her success, and it felt like he was a little jealous. What did you think when you saw that?
So every time we talk about Craig and Paige, I just need to remind people that a producer who I thought was a dear friend of mine once blurted out that she wanted Paige to get my job here.
Really?
She never auditioned, but she was like on her list of people. She's become a huge star. So she's on Summer House, but she's got all these like fashion things she's doing. She's got a super successful podcast. But this is basically
Is she a
story.
conservative?
I don't think so. Yeah. She's adorable though. And younger than me. Damn it.
Wouldn't change it. Don't worry.
But this is basically a story of a couple that gets together. She was in her late 20s. He was her early 30s. I think genuinely in love, genuine compatibility that you could see in two big stars within the Bravo world. But she got to this place where her career was just skyrocketing, taking off beyond what you expect in like Bravo celebrity world. And he's very successful. He's one of the most beloved people within the Bravo universe, but hers is kind of a next level. She like did the red carpet for the Vanity Fair party, and she's becoming a real mainstream success outside of the Bravo world. And I think that we're seeing some cracks that I think it was hard for him, though I think he supported her, to allow her to kind of eclipse him professionally. And it's a conversation we've had on this show many times of like, could you date somebody who makes less than you or is not as successful as you? And my answer is always, yes, you could, so long as they support you and are your biggest cheerleader. And that was where there kind of seemed to be a break at the end, is I think it started with him really supporting her, and then it became maybe some ego and maybe hard for him to root for her because she was outshining him. And that's the difference. And the one thing I will say about like our table, every one of the women has said like, we have the most supportive husbands. Like being a View spouse is incredibly hard.
I would think.
And you have to be very secure, also like comfortable knowing that your spouse is going to get hate and be their support system when they do. And just be there to back them up through like the day-to-day stuff that we go through.
Right,
and
you
luckily
might
we
hold
all
a purse
do.
on a red carpet
Yeah,
sometime. Like
you
that's
do.
kind of the
You
thing.
sure do.
Yeah. And Justin's no problem with that.
He doesn't.
I mean, he's very successful, of course, but
he's honestly, I don't know that any other guy I dated could ever deal with being like a spouse when I'm in a position like this other than Justin, because he's so confident and he's so supportive, and he thinks it's funny. Like he I remember at the Emmys, like he and Manny wandered off carrying our purses, and he couldn't have cared less. He's like, A, I don't want to be on the red carpet, B, like let's go to the bar.
there you go. That's exactly who you need in those moments,
exactly.
I think.
Yes, so the conversation is, can you be with a guy who's like, can a guy handle it if the wife is more successful? That's what you were talking about,
Yeah, I mean, you were dead on, because we went to the Emmys together, and Manny wants no part of any red carpet ever. Like when we went the other day to the premiere of
He goes,
The
I got a
Amateur,
purse.
and Manny had a purse, and I was like,
Manny.
come on the red carpet. He's like, no, I'm gonna find the bar. Like he just has no interest in it.
He holds your purse?
He holds my purse. He holds my coat. He'll tell me. He'll hold shoes. He just doesn't want to be a part of that. He didn't sign on for it.
Yeah.
And he's very supportive and has always been, but. This is not the life he chose.
I think all of them are like that in this show.
Some people do struggle. Some men struggle to date women who are on paper more successful. And we all have very successful husbands. It's not really an either or. But I think that certain men could not be outshined by a partner.
Yeah.
They have to have a certain kind of confidence.
Not sexy.
Correct.
What is so sexy is a
the
confident
confidence.
man.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
comes
Right.
in different forms. A funny guy is usually really comfortable in their skin.
Yeah.
People that are passionate about what they do, but make like a teacher. Someone who does something because they're so believe in it, but it does not pay them what they deserve. But they just love it and they feel so comfortable with that. when people are insecure, men specifically, maybe because that's what I'm looking at, when they're insecure or small, I'm kind of like, it's not against you because clearly you're working on something, but it's not sexy to me.
Yeah.
It's just not
But
attractive.
the reason we're talking about it for men is because of the traditions, right? And what the taboos are about a man who's less successful, whatever the meaning,
But what
meaning
does
of success
mean,
is.
though?
Yeah.
'Cause if someone's fulfilled, to me, that's the goal is to be successful
is.
in what you find yourself doing.
And I love that you said, like, teachers, for example. Some of my best friends are. Joy's married to a teacher.
Yeah.
One of my best friends is. That's something that's fulfilling. It's something that you have to have a certain intellect and a drive to do. And it may not pay as high as like a TV job.
Because we don't pay our teachers enough.
But it's to be honest, I'd say it's a very sexy job, and it's a very like. Yeah,
I always tell my kids and anyone who listens to me that only one person in the family needs to really make some money. Not both people. It doesn't have necessarily true. If you have enough.
I don't know that I like that, Joy.
But someone
You don't like that?
I like one person in the family making money, but I think for women it's increasingly important to have financial independence so they don't have to put up with that my mom and others had to put up with.
Oh, no, I wasn't really thinking of it like that. I mean, I had a girlfriend whose husband had a big business and very successful. Really, they were loaded, and he let her do whatever she wanted. I mean, I don't think it's not true that just because your husband has a lot of money that you're the little wifey.
Yeah, but it's also important to remember, think about how many people, I don't know them personally, but you read about, that are gazillionaires, that it's never enough. When you start to fall for the idea that money will buy you happiness,
It won't.
It will be a drug that you chase until the day you die, and then you regret all the time you wasted when you realize what it was all about and you were on the wrong path.
Yeah, but don't underestimate some cash.
Cash? No. And by the way,
sexy too.
when I say lightly, I mean paying your bills. Although that is important and stress to have extra money, it relieves that and it's nice. But it will not fulfill you. It will not fill you up.
It can't make a man look pretty sexy though.
What? A lot of money?
I think so.
I'll tell you what, talking about being emasculated by holding purses, I went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner with 4 of you a couple years ago.
And you held all of our
I held
purses.
all of your purses,
You did.
and then Alyssa came out, and I'm holding all the purses, and she introduced me to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and that was the most humiliating thing that's ever happened to me.
You
I
met
was
a
holding
four-star
3
general.
purses.
Four-star general
what,
with sparkly
Brian,
purses.
You should have just handed them to him.
I really should have.
You did. You held all of our purses.
And you were a gentleman.
You see?
Yes.
Because you're confident.
But to be honest, I thought the same thing. I was like, Brian's confident enough to carry 4 sparkly purses around the Capitol Hill.
By the way, they were also small purses.
They were.
They were very sparkly.
Well, Brian is a secure person.
Yeah.
He's not an insecure
You
jerk.
couldn't do
His
job
life
if
is
you
ruled by women at home and at work.
Yeah. He has a wife, 2 girls, and a female dog.
And
Like,
That's
Six bitches on TV isn't enough.
I know.
Yeah.
Crazy, Brian.
Yes.
All right, then.
I'm very honored.
Okay,
I almost believed you.
you can listen to the Behind the Table podcast wherever you stream your podcasts or watch us on YouTube. Have a great day, everyone. Take a little time to
Enjoy the weekend.